Good evening. It's January 18th, 2025. We're in Studio 6C for 29 minutes, and we're speaking with World War II veteran, Mr. John J. Jeckovich. How are you feeling today, Mr. Jeckovich?
Very good.
You're looking well with your new matching clothes and your shoes and matching socks. You're looking very chipper.
Matching socks, yeah.
Mr. Jeckovich, by the way, is knocking on the door of 100. For example, to our listeners today, if you're 40 years old, you have a 10% chance of making it to 100, just the way it is. When Mr. Jeckovich was born in 1925, almost 100 years ago, the life expectancy age was about 52. Gasoline was 7 to 9 cents per gallon. Fill up your car for $2 or $3 a full tank, and it was a full service. They'd pump it, clean your windows,
Clean the windshields.
check your tires,
Yeah, check the tires, yeah.
check your oil.
Yeah.
$2 or $3 to fill up your car. And the average cost of a nice house in a decent subdivision was like $2,000 or $3,000. And fortunately, we didn't discover the devils yet. Homeowners Association, HOAs, were not thought of, and we're glad they weren't. Now we got them in 90% of the properties in Florida, and they're just a general waste of time, money, and a big pain in the ass. So back then, life was much simpler. You didn't have to deal with the HOA Nazis. You didn't have to do too much with your car. A brand new car was $700 or $800, ran on gasoline, and it was very simple to repair. Could you not repair your own cars back then?
Yeah, sure good.
Yeah, you could repair your own cars back then. The husband was the breadwinner. The wife would take care of the family. She'd go shopping almost every Friday, and for $20 or $30, they filled the refrigerator and they filled their shelves, their cupboards. So how's it looking now? Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of dollars a week to feed the kids, and the wife is working 3 jobs, the husband's working 3 or 4 jobs, and 90% of the population today simply can't afford a house. Simply can't afford a house, just the way it is. Horrible. So where have we actually gone with all these so-called conveniences? Cell phones, laptops, you name it. What did these gadgets do for you?
Tie you down.
What?
Tie you down.
Tie you down. Yeah, that's a good point. When the phone back then was on a party line, explain to us what a party line was.
Yeah.
What was a party line?
They're either listening or talking.
So when Mr. Jeckovich picked up the phone as a boy, there was someone talking on the phone. They shared the phones with other people.
Yeah.
That's how the system was then. That's how the system was then. And so once you got that dial tone, you quickly spun that dial to get out to make your call. And then when you're talking on the phone, what would happen?
They shut you off.
Or they'd listen to you.
Yeah.
So back then, the phone was attached to the wall with a 1 or 2 foot cord. And when you weren't home, you were free. That was freedom. Now, every 15 minutes, you got your cell phone in your pocket. And guess what? Solicitation calls, frivolous calls, nonsense text. The list is long. So what convenience do you actually have? You're running there every 5 minutes to talk to someone that doesn't amount to a hill of beans. And that's the bottom line. Wasting a lot of your life on just completely nonsense. Completely nonsense. It's complete nonsense. So life seemed a whole lot simpler then, I can tell you that. I can tell you that for a fact. And today we're like in the rat race. Everything's moving so fast. Prices are high. Competition is high. Groceries are extremely undesirable. Fruits and vegetables are undesirable. For example, raising a rose in 1925 in today's earth, 1925 earth, you could smell the beauty of an actual rose. Today, if you raise a rose, It's like cardboard. There's nothing to it. Everything has changed, and actually for the worse. You think you have these great conveniences, but you really don't. Mr. Jeckovich, by the way, grew up during the Depression. Did you think you were shortchanged?
No, I didn't think I was starving. I had good new clothes for Easter and everything else.
So, you know, they went right through the Depression, and they just made the best out of it. They weren't complaining. How do you think people would do today if there was a Depression?
Oh, they turn you in.
Everyone's very spoiled.
Yeah.
Spoiled rotten. Keep in mind, even the poorest people today are living better than the kings and queens 1,000 years ago, and that's a fact. The poorest people today are living better than the kings and queens of yesterday, 1,000 years ago. Let's face it, we're living in a welfare state. We're living in a welfare state. About 70% of the United States population is on some type of welfare or government assistance. And then we could also speak briefly about government workers. And I use the term workers loosely. There's millions and millions and millions of government workers. But all that is, when you're working for the government, in most cases, not all, but in most cases, not all, that's simply glorified welfare. You're not doing much. You're not attributing to the country. You're not making life better for others. It's basically a big scam. Millions and millions of people doing as little as possible, and they're waiting for that pension check. Honestly, they're waiting for a pension check by doing nothing to get to that point. An interesting fact there, they all say we deserve, the government, the so-called government workers, say they all deserve a big, fat, lucrative pension because they sacrifice themselves in the private sector to work in the government, and they say in the private sector they would make much more money. But newsflash, no one would hire these lazy bastards in the private sector. But that's a great excuse. All government workers say, I deserve a big lucrative pension because I didn't go into the private sector, which I would have made much more money. Hell no, that's the big lie. That's the big government lie. No private company would hire these people. Not one private company I know of would hire these people. So that's the big lie. But anyways, Mr. Jeckovich is a World War II hero, fought in the Battle of the Bulge, one of the bloodiest battles at the end of World War II in the Ardennes Forest. Many people were slaughtered. The beautiful white landscape of snow of the Ardennes Forest was all covered in red, all covered in blood. And at that point there, Hitler knew that his time was up, and he committed suicide. He knew the time was up. And once the Battle of Bulge ended, that was pretty much the nail that closed the coffin shut. And all the soldiers at this time were worried for two reasons. Number one, they survived World War II, but they didn't want to get shot by a rogue sniper, right?
Yeah.
You made it through it. You're able to walk and breathe, and you don't want to get shot by a rogue snipers, because there's still a lot of rogue snipers out there. And secondly, they were extremely worried about the war was still raging on in the Pacific, and they didn't want to get transferred to the Pacific, right?
Yeah, my case was Pacific, yeah.
When you initially got sent over to Europe, weren't you relieved that you're in Europe and not the Pacific? When you initially
yeah, we sweated it out, yeah.
But there was only one soldier in the whole United States Army that once the war ended, in the European theater, couldn't wait to get to the Pacific. Patton. Why was that? Why did he want to get?
He's trying to show off with Eisenhower.
Yeah, and Patton was actually during World War I and World War II. And when he died by accident in Germany, they were going to send him back to the United States for a burial, probably in Arlington. And he says, no, I want to be buried right here with my soldiers in Germany. And they was buried in Germany at the American military cemetery. And then a few years later, his wife died, and he had put in family put in a request that his wife would be buried next to him. But under no circumstance would the military let a wife be buried next to him in a cemetery in Germany. So it turned out this way. The family cremated the wife and scattered the ashes over Patton's grave at the American cemetery in Germany. So that's how all that played out. That's how all that played out. But it's very interesting that Mr. Jeckovich had a run-in with Patton. Could you tell us about how you met General Patton?
Patton?
Yeah. Weren't you in a barn?
We were sleeping in a bar trying to get out of the cold about 3 o'clock in the morning, and I told Pope to make sure your cabin flies the Jeep in the trailer. And he didn't do that. Patton picked it up and come in the room and he said, "What are you guys sleeping? Get your ass up, get up, go, 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 go."
Yeah. So that was your run-in with him.
Yeah.
Did you ever see him again?
No.
No. Patton, by the way, came from a very wealthy family. And today's time, if you're in a wealthy family, you can manipulate the system greatly. They could say you have a club foot or make up some type of disease so your son does not have to serve in the military. That went on with many wealthy families during Vietnam. And Bush, George Bush, was in World War II. And, George Bush was in the Vietnam War, speaking of the son now, and he was stationed to the Air Guard. But here's how interesting things happen when you have money and you have connections. All the other people in the squadron of the Air Guard said they never seen him one time in the 4 years, but they do know that he got his checks monthly.
Yeah.
But they never seen him one time.
17 minutes.
Pardon me?
17.
So there you go, manipulating the system. And this goes on thousands of times a day. It's a simple fact like that. It's a simple fact. So there's corruptions in every area of life. And that's the way it is. Life is not fair. Look at the 9 million Jews that were slaughtered. They were just at the wrong place at the wrong time. They didn't do anything wrong.
Look at the Japanese, how they hauled it. They put them in cells, yeah.
Yeah. Being in the wrong place at the wrong time, life is not fair. And don't ever think it is. Just adjust and move on. Adjust and move on. Well, we're talking about your laundromat opening and closing. But in order to open up the laptop to start reading this, what is your dog tag number?
429-2965.
1 second. Entering. It's opened up. That is really great. Mr. Jeckovich, we're talking about his laundromat that he opened on 2nd and 3rd in Niagara Falls, New York.
Yeah.
That was a great laundromat. What was the name of it?
Duplex yard wash. 18 years I was there. 18 years.
I don't think you have any pictures of it, but you do have an artist did a drawing.
I think he gave him a free wash.
Tell us how that happened, because that's a beautiful
Guy
drawing.
come in, he looked like a homeless guy, and he said, if I give you a nice drawing, I do it myself, could I get a wash?
Wow.
I said, sure, go ahead.
What talent.
Yeah.
I looked over that drawing, what was it, 60, 70 years ago he did it? Perfect condition, very bright. Where did he get the materials from, the pens and the paper? Did you just grab anything off what he could find?
I don't know.
What great talent.
He had a tablet with him, though.
That is such natural talent.
Character tablet with him.
Natural talent. Someone with that talent should never be poor. Unbelievable. What natural talent. Wow.
I think he pulled it on the other laundromats when he come in and look out. I'll draw you a picture of it if I get a free wash.
Wow. Boy, oh boy, what talent this guy had. What absolute talent. So let me get a couple pages read. $7.99. How many pages is this book?
849.
Oh my God. Did you get any of the book started? Because this thing's going to be over soon. At least give me a couple chapters of another book.
I started.
Give me a couple chapters soon. Because I'll be done with this soon. How long did it take you to write this book?
This book?
Yeah.
A month. Well, I had notes on it for a while.
Unbelievable. We got another text that just came in as we're speaking. How much is the book and where can I buy it?
Can't buy it.
The book is not for sale. You can't buy it. There's the original copy in the World War II Museum in New Orleans, Louisiana. But if you just, I think we did like 420 podcasts, and we start from the beginning. We go chapter to chapter to chapter, and it's all free. Just listen. Mr. Jeckovich did not do this for money. He has plenty, so he doesn't do it for money. He's doing it to share his knowledge of life from the 1925s forward, including a large segment on World War II. A large segment on World War II. And Mr. Jeckovich, by the way, was from Company H, the 2nd Battalion of the new 291st Regiment of the 75th Infantry Division of the U.S. Army during World War II. Mr. Jeckovich lives by the motto, yesterday is history, tomorrow is a mystery, and today is a gift. Today is a gift. Isn't that true, Mr. Jeckovich?
Very true, very true.
There's only about 6,000 or 7,000 frontline combat veterans of World War II left. We started off with a total of 16,400,000 beautiful young men and women. They're all gone. There's some rear echelon left, maybe 80,000. What's rear echelon do?
When they supported the troops up front.
They had an important role, but the dangers were right on that front line. The dangers were right on that front line. In the dirt, in the snow, in the gunfire.
Yeah.
24/7. There's no giving up. And so we only have about 6,000 left of the combat soldiers, and the ones we do have left are in the late 90s or early 100s. And we're losing them at a rate of 150 a day. So if you have any text messages for Mr. Jeckovich, any questions, he'd be glad to answer them for you. Because you might, in 10 or 15 years, you might pick up a book and read about history, but it's all watered down. It might not be factual. Look at your picture. Here's the facts right there. Look at the man, Mr. Jeckovich, and text a question. He's answered almost all of them already. And text him at 407-366.
12 and a half.
407-366-0000. Text Mr. John J. Jeckovich at 407-366-0000. And for you folks that are living in North and South Carolina, as you know, we have our slang all to ourselves, coming directly from Hague Point to Fusky Island, South Carolina. This is how we say it. Text Mr. Jeckovich at 407-366-0000. 407-366-0000. So we're going to start on his ending of his book, opening and closing the laundry. But before I do, I had some random facts that Mr. Jeckovich spoke about many months ago, and we'll just throw them out there. During World War II, the United States didn't want any German-sounding food in their menus. Unfortunately, one of the most popular American meals was a hamburger.
Yeah.
So the Americans didn't want to hear about a hamburger, which came from Hamburg, Germany, and is named after a German city of Hamburg. Americans didn't want to give up the delicacy, so they start calling them Liberty steaks. Liberty steaks, because they didn't want to say Hamburg.
Yeah.
But that didn't stick.
Yeah.
But on the other side of the coin, they also start calling Frankfurters, named after the German city of Frankfurt, hot dogs.
Hot dog.
And this one caught on a little bit better than a Liberty steak. So everyone calls it a hot dog. Maybe 1% call it a Frankfurter. And hot dogs is the key. It's stuck. And interesting enough, the Liberty steaks never stuck. Never stuck. Canada declared on war after the bombing of Pearl Harbor, too, one day before the United States got around to it. So we didn't jump into the war until December 7th, 1941, when Japan bombed Pearl Harbor.
Yeah.
Can't believe it or not, Canada got in first, and then we got in the next day.
Yeah.
If we would adjust for inflation in modern American dollars, World War II cost the United States about $4.5 trillion with a T. $4.5 trillion. Wow. Wow. That's amazing. These damn wars are so expensive and so miserable. Until 1944, there was always American military service in the Pacific fighting Japan than there were in Europe fighting Germans. Then the United States Marine Corps used the acronyms BAM and HAM for women and men, respectively, in the Marines. They stood for Broad Assessed Marines and Hairy-Assed Marines. Okay, that's an interesting fact. The pact between the Nazis and the Soviets regarding which country were each other's spheres of influence wasn't revealed in 1989. That was the biggest mistake Hitler made, was going after the Russians, because they were aggressive. They knew how to fight in the ice. They knew how to fight in the snow.
Yeah.
And every one of those Russian soldiers wanted to personally kill Hitler. But as we know, Hitler took his life before Patton could blow his brains out or before the Russians could get him. He didn't want to be like Mussolini. Mussolini was a horrible dictator, and Hitler, seen what happened to Mussolini. They hanged him up bare-ass naked near a gas station and beat the living shit out of him with clubs until he's dead. Hitler didn't want to go down that road, and they probably would have done worse to Hitler.
Yeah.
They probably would have. So Mussolini went down a hard way, and probably rightfully so. Soviet soldiers shouted a war cry, "Ura," when they attacked. It's a traditional Russian battle cry originating from the old Turkish wording meaning kill. Ura, kill. They would scream that battle cry whenever they were out there. In the 1930s, the Soviet Union was working on design for a fighter aircraft, but they couldn't build a powerful enough one for the engine to get off the ground. The engineers did know of one company that was making powerful engines. Who was that engine company?
Rhine River.
And Rolls-Royce.
Yeah.
Rolls-Royce. That appealed to Stalin to ask the British to sell them the Rolls-Royce engines. And on many of the commercial aircrafts today, we're still using Rolls-Royce. Yeah. Russia during World War II, and we knew this because they were losing thousands of men an hour. Russia had the largest number of casualties of any country in World War II, with over 21 million soldiers and civilians killed. Russia, due to Adolf Hitler's, lost 21 million. Unbelievable number, huh?
Well, that's counting the air raids too.
Yeah. The war in Russia wasn't great for Germany either. 80% of all German soldiers killed during World War II died on the Eastern Front fighting Russia.
Yeah.
So Hitler lost 80% of his military right on the Russian front.
Yeah.
Tell us what the Russian front was like.
Well, it's Siberia, cold as hell. The Germans weren't used to it.
Yeah. Mr. Jeckovich's father, Marian Jeckovich, was born in Russia in one of the coldest towns or cities on the Russian front. And it was nothing but a factory town where people worked 20 hours a day for next to nothing.
Yeah.
So his father was born in one of the dirtiest, filthiest towns in Russia, where you basically worked to death. Ironically, his father came to the United States through Ellis Island, and he worked like hell to make the United States better, so he could contribute. He would never take a handout, wasn't in his vocabulary, and he would just work very hard. And unfortunately, with his eye on giving his children a better life than he had 3 different jobs. and one of them was making cement and doing sidewalks for his own little business. Spinning the cement, making the cement is very difficult. So at the age of 43, Mr. Jekovich's father died making a cement sidewalk of some type.
Heart attack.
Heart attack, and that was it. And how did you find out about your father's death?
The police come to the house at 8 o'clock and said, well, your father's got hurt, we would like to take you down to the hospital.
And then what?
We went down there and I asked the nurse, where's my father? And she said, well, we'll take you down. I said, when she said down, I got a little leery. We went down to the morgue.
Oh, and he was just a boy, 11, 12, 13 years old. So they took you down to the morgue, and you suspiciously thought, there's a lot more to this story.
Yeah.
So when you got down to the morgue, what exactly did you see?
Well, I see my father laid out, and they said, well, you go through his pocket, see what it's got.
And what did your father have?
Oh, he had that Prince Albert can, those little papers that wrap it up. He had his keys. He had what did he have? He had
Coins?
Stuff of work, yeah.
So your father was laying on a slab, and they brought a young boy down there to identify the body and take out his Prince Albert. By the way, if you don't know what Prince Albert and papers are, back in the day they would roll their own cigarettes. When you went down there, was your father fully dressed?
No, he was full of cement.
He was full of cement. Was your father's eyes closed?
Yes.
I see. Did you see any noticeable damage when he fell? Was his head have blood on it? His hands have blood on it?
No, he had no physical damage to him, no.
So he just died and collapsed into cement?
Yeah.
So, better that he died in the United States, I guess to say, taking care of his family than die in those damn hellhole prisons factories in Russia.
Just under 3.
The Russian army, by the way, was the first in the world to use paratroopers. The blood transfusion was invented during World War II and saved hundreds of thousands of lives. The Soviet army has been accused of a lot of war crimes, including rapes of 2 million German women. How disgusting, how disgusting. The United States Medal of Honor was awarded to 464 Americans. Mr. Jeckovich received the Purple Heart and 2 Bronze Stars. A Soviet woman named Raza Shanina worked as a sniper, a woman sniper, a Russian sniper during World War II, and killed at least 54 Germans. The classic American snack food, Cheetos, were invented in 1943, a way to freeze-dried cheese for human climates. So we invented Cheetos during World War II. Now if you take a box of Cheetos, there's so many fucking chemicals in it. You'll probably die if you eat 2 boxes directly.
Let's see what these guys
Wait, 1 second. So Cheetos was invented during World War II. Minute
and a half.
What was in a K-ration? We'll go back to this a little bit. K-Rations.
K-Rations?
Yeah.
Were supplemented for put in the package when you went overseas.
But in general, how was your food in the Army?
Army good. Army cooks were real good. They could cook anywhere.
What was that one favorite food that you said you liked?
Stuffed cabbage.
No, you said something about on a shingle. What was that?
Oh, brown sugar. Ice, what the hell was that?
But in general, is good food.
Huh?
In general, is good food. Minutes?
54 seconds.
What was shit on a shingle?
That was what the hell was it? That was egg, scrambled eggs.
And that's what you nicknamed it?
Yeah.
Why'd you nickname it then? Why'd you
Army named it, or someone named it.
Okay. When you were first time going to Europe, you were on a limey ship. How was the food there?
Greasy.
So it made you
Took us
sick?
3 months to get over.
Oh, wow.
Minutes?
27.
3 months to get over.
Tell us about it, just briefly, what the ship was like.
Well, we were 3 high, the nose, the last guy on the top of the bus was sticking his nose up in the ceiling.
Claustrophobia.
Yeah. And it was a greasy ship, and the food was terrible.
But you
Took
sat on
3
the
months to
deck,
get over there.
you sat on the deck most of the time.
Huh?
You sat on deck
I
most of the
sat on most of the deck, yeah.